Assalamu Alaikum and welcome to a new video. We are going to write a name in Kufi, finally, a video about Kufi. It's been a while since I've done anything with Kufi. So basically, I want those of you who want to take a screenshot of this to just go ahead and do it. I'm going to explain it because in a way we did do the letters, but we didn't actually go about writing any words or stuff with it. So first, what we are going to start with are the measurements, and for the measurements we have several shapes, so I'm going to use the basics just to make this video about how to make the Kufi. So the name we are going to write today is Juwairiya, which is Jim Waw Ya Ra Ya Ta Marbuta. So we have Jim, then a Waw, then a Ya, a Ra, then a Ya and Ta marbuta. So here we have two main things. We've got the Jim and the Ta marbuta. They are the beginning and the end of the name. So those should be our reference letters for how high or how high the letters or the word would be. Now the Jim has a lot of shapes. As a start of the word, we've got the small ones that look like this, but also we have way more complicated ones like something that looks like this, or the one that we saw in one of the videos that looked like this. So we have a lot of shapes for the Jim, and for this I'm going to use the simplest shape, because this is how you should start with Kufi, by just practicing the easiest shapes. Then you could move on to the hardest one, or the harder ones. Now with regards to the pen, I'm going to use a normal paper. It's not a graph paper. Also I'm going to use this thick pen, although you should use a pencil. So whatever you see me doing with this pen, you should be doing it with a pencil, but I'm doing it just to make it clear for the video, because pencil does not show on the video. So the first thing you are going to do, just like any other script, you will see the letters and you will look up the shapes that you have for each letter. After looking up the shapes, you will start to think about the baseline, which is this thick line that contains all the letters. So for example, Juwairiya in Kufi, we are going to put a straight line. Now I'm explaining how to write it, and take a thickness that I want it to be worked with, and do another line up here. So here we have something called T, and this thickness is basically the foundation and the core for every single letter that we are going to write within this name. So this unified, let's say, baseline is very important to start with. Then you would start putting your letters, the shapes that you want for your let's say Kufi piece. So here I want to use this Jim. It doesn't have to be correct, you just put it as an imaginary thing just to see how it would look like as a product. So here I have a Jim and a Waw. Then I'm going to put a Ya. Now with regards to the spaces between the letters, you will come to those later. It's just about choosing which letters you want to use with this piece. So I've chosen this Jim and this Waw because there's another one that is curvier. It's a circular Waw. I've used this Ya, and here the Ya is basically a Ba. It's the start of the Ba, so no need to make a big deal out of it. You don't have to see it in a different lesson, just go back to the Ba lesson. The Ra also has 2 to 3 shapes, and I'm using the straight one because, by the way, I'm only having a ruler. That's what I'm going to work with for the whole thing. You should have all the tools back home, but I don't have them right now. So Juwairiya, Ra, Ya, again the same Ya shape. Now with regards to the Ta marbuta, we've got let's say an option of it of being either short, just like this, or very long. Now the long one you would use, for example, here I made this one to show you that if you use the high Jim like this one, a more complicated one, you should use the terminal border that goes all the way up. And the reason for this is because you want to balance the piece on the right and the left. If you just left it like this with a huge G and all these letters are short, you will end up with an unbalanced piece. But if you use the terminal border that goes all the way high, that closes with this G, you could put something, decoration up here. This way you will balance your piece of art. And that's what I wanted to talk about with regards to the terminal border. Now, I did write the dimensions here. This is basically what I am talking about. What I'm saying here is that you need a paper like this one that contains the shapes that you want to use. For example, I'm going to use this shape. This is just to show you an example with the terminal border. I'm using this G along with this waw, with this ya, ra, ya, then terminal border. As you can see, I've added the dimensions on the paper. I'm using this as a reference, but also as a design stage, because here I could have added the other waw. Here I could have added the other ra. So use a paper out and put on it the shapes that you want to use and the dimensions that are related to these shapes. You don't have to use tools. This all is a freehand. I just did it freehandly. Then down here is what we are going to do now, is basically doing the actual piece. Now, after choosing the letters that we want to write the word with, we start with the line that we just talked about. And again, I am using a thick pen, which would be kind of annoying in a way, but I'm using it basically to make it clear for the video. So this line is this lower line. I'm just going to make it thicker. This line is basically the line that I just made. And this gives me the boundary, the lower edge of the whole piece. Now from this one, as we always talked, you are going to take the full thickness of this line and start working with it up and down the line. Make sure to choose a thickness that is comfortable to work with, but at the same time can be sort of contained within the paper. So I'm going to use 8mm, and as we said before, you need it to be an even number so that when you divide it over 2 over 4, it will still give you a sort of normal numbers instead of digits like 2.5 or 3 point whatever. So I'm going to use 8mm here, and when you get this piece, you will have a maximum height and a maximum drop for each letter. And for example, here you got a really high maximum height, and this height is measured always from this line. So now, since you've got this line that you will measure with, you could calculate the maximum height and the maximum drop of each letter. So for example, here I've already calculated the maximum drop, which is 1.5, which equals 12. And I already know the full thickness, which is T, which is 8. And this would be the 3.5 T for the G letter, as we can see here. So you have to do some calculations before you start, because once you start writing it, you need to just, you don't want to get confused by the dimensions. You just want to see, all right, I've got my line, or what I want to do now is to go up for the full thickness, which is 8mm. And for this one, you need to be a bit focused, so that this would be the upper edge. You would take at least 2 points on this line so that you could have a straight line. Then you would take above this line, as you can see here, the maximum height, which is 3.5, which is 28mm. So from this point, be careful, from the upper point you would take 28mm, which is up here. And this is giving you the maximum height for the letter G. Again, you would do the same here, 28, add a dot, and we've almost finished the upper let's say side of the word. Now I know that we still have a waw, a ya, and a ra, but for those letters they are not that complicated and they are coming later. So you could start with these 3 main points for the, or 4 main points for the maximum height. And if you were using a graph paper, this sort of step you might not need it, because the reason I'm doing this is because I don't have vertical or horizontal lines. and I need that for the letters themselves. So again, I'm going to use the same thing with regards to the maximum drop. You should always point out your 0 ground. Here you've got plus T, here you've got plus 3.5 T. This way you will know which line is the one you are going to start working from. So here I know this is the ground line, and from this I'm going to drop 12 millimeters to give me the maximum drop for the waw and the ra, because we are going to write those later. Now I've got kind of 50% of my work done, because this way I know the maximum and the minimum drop. Now the letter Jim itself, going back to the dimensions, you've got a point to start with, which is going to be this one, and I'm going to use dotted lines to show it instead of lines. These dotted lines will help me to identify a point up here, which is going up for half the thickness. Right here, now we are working on the Jim, by the way. So this is my starting point, which would be this line. From here, I'm going to measure 1 T to the right, which is the decoration of the Jim itself, and I will connect those 2 points freehandly, but you should use a sort of one of those engineering stuff that gives you a nice curve, but you could do it freehandly. So this part on the right I could immediately color, because this part is done. I don't have anything else to add to it, and this is basically this edge of the Jim. So you do need to imagine the letter before you start working on it. Now between the 2 peaks, which is this one and that one, we have a dimension which would be 1.75 T. Let me just quickly calculate it. It's 14 millimeters. So the distance from here all the way to the left would be 1.75 T, which equals 14 millimeters. And for this one, I could easily use this one, put it on the same dot, and measure the 1.40, which is about here. Now here again, I'm going to do this freehandly, but you should use a tool. Again, this height is 0.5 T. You should be careful not to forget these things, but it is measured from the 1 T from here. And here I could also do a dotted line freehandly. That will give me an idea how to draw a semicircle or a part of a circle here. Again, I could immediately start coloring this part, which is the continuity of the decoration on the right of the Jim. This way you could help yourself to just imagine the letter coming up, instead of having to go back and think, where am I in this letter? Now the next step is the straight line that goes for 60 degrees from here. Now this line would come tangent with this point here. So when you put your triangle, I don't have a triangle, so I've estimated the angle here. So you put the triangle here and you just do a dotted line with the pencil, so that you know this is the line you have to work with. It doesn't matter how far you should drag it, you just have to know that this line is the right edge of the Jim. From this line you would take another 8 millimeters. 2 points would be good for me because I have a ruler, not a triangle. If it was a triangle, it would be immediately simply a straight line. And here I am going to add another dotted line. Now for the Jim, it is not straight, it has some curvature in it, which is 1 to 1.5 millimeters up here at this point. But again, as you can see, we've hit the maximum height, 3.5 T. Therefore, we are going to drop another line from this height by 8 millimeters, which is the full thickness. And the reason for this is because we've got a full thickness all around, and we need this for the upper edge, so that when we curve the Jim, we have a full size for the top side of it, this side. So we've got our lines, we've got our limits. Now you could take the 1 millimeter out here, as you can see, because you have this curvature, and from here, and you can start drawing this, connecting these dots together, then going out a bit and stopping at this top edge. could have it sort of inclined instead of circular. This way the gym is no longer straight, it has this slight curvature to the right. Gives you a curve move instead of a sudden change. It's an option, I guess, so yeah. Now, when you want to drop the other way around, so here we've got a drop for the gym, what will happen is that you will take half the thickness from this line and you would point it out somewhere here. And again, from this full drop that you made, which is T, you're going to take another 0.5 T. And this way you've pointed out the edge, this point for the G. Now, there is a point here that you've so you've got the curvature up here, and you've got your line, and the intersection between those two lines you would take to know that this is the transition of the curve, the tip of the letter G. And when you touch this line, you start going back, and from this line you would take another T so that it will hit this side and you would come back with it. It might be a bit complicated, but what you need to do is to stop and look at each dimension by itself. So this is what we've got so far, and as we said, that the lines and the dimensions you need to keep an eye on. This way we've got these 2 points, and you can immediately start coloring this letter, because the issue with Kufi is that if you did not color your letters at the beginning of the writing, you will end up having a lot of lines and you might mess up a color or a line. So for example, this one, I know that I need to curve, but if I didn't color it at the beginning, I might end up not having the curve at all. So here, just bear with me, I need to color this quickly. And this letter is finished all the way till the edge, till this edge. You see this line? So this is all done. And you can color everything to the right of it. And this way you've got your gem ready to go. Now the next letter, it depends on the design that you have. I don't have a space between letters like a long one, but you can have an elongation after the letter G. Anyway, so here I've got the end of the letter G. It is connected to the vowel, but I need to take a full thickness to start my vowel after it. You don't want the vowel to come here below the G, no. At the end of the letter G, you take a full thickness, that is the normal distance between letters in the script, and you color this too, so that you know that from here I am going to start working with the vowel. Now letter vowel, again, you go up half the thickness for the opening inside the vowel, and you would go another full thickness from this dot for the body of the letter itself, and you've got another half the thickness for the decoration on top of the vowel. Now here you've got a straight line with 3 marks on it. Might want to zoom a bit on this one. So you could easily connect all these 3 lines all the way down, because on the right of the vowel we don't have any intersections, so this will be all colored. Now from here I've got my first and the second one. Now this one, the half thickness that we took up here, is where the shape, the inside of the vowel will have an opening, and this opening is 8 millimeters far from the right. So I've just put a dot for the right upper corner of the opening of the vowel, and this lower edge will be also half the thickness, which is 4 millimeters, and this way I've got my opening for the vowel letter. This is the inside of it. All this will be colored in a minute. Now here I can see I've got the full thickness. I need also the same thing up here, so that the decoration will go all the way down and touch this point. After this, you will use a compass to draw a perfect quarter of a circle around this edge that will connect those 2 full thicknesses. I'm taking full thicknesses right now, I hope it's clear. I'm taking them from the edges of this point and this point. So these 2 will connect to each other to give you the full size of the wow. Now I'm doing it freehandly, as I said, because I don't have the tools for it, but yeah, this should be good. You will continue this line all the way down to here, because this is all a thick part of the wow. And now we will move to the lower edge of the word, which is the end of the wow down here. Now this end of the wow is going to drop maximum 1.5t, which is this line. And again, you would point out the full thickness to this point. And from the lesson that we took, we know that here we've got two half thicknesses that we are going to work with, which would be a 4mm where the letter would touch and start to curve, because after it will go up a bit. So what you will do is to get a sort of a compass or something, and you would point out the half thickness up here, and this would be the point where your wow will rotate and fall back, just like this. So this is going to drop a bit, then it will rotate, and then it will go up, just like this. This also will do the same. The thing with this part of the word is that it's to this one, not this one. You will just use 0.5t to this point. The thing with the wow is that the lower edge of it is kind of freehandly done, so you need to practice to have a nice elliptical shape in it. Now we've finished our wow, we color it. I hope it's clear, because it's not that I have to make the video short, and this way I have to give you the dimensions quickly, and what you need to do is to actually go back and do each letter by itself. Then when you start doing them, you would easily just still do each letter by itself and color all of them, and this way you will get the final shape of the word. In all scripts, you don't think of the word as a whole. No, you choose your letters and you start coloring them later after you've finished the drawing. So here we've got Jim and wow. The letter Jim, as we said, you would drop down a bit, and this circle would be kind of T thickness, and you would color it. You should use a compass to avoid these odd shapes of the circle. And we will continue on with the Ya and the Ra. Now the Ya and the Ra, again, the maximum height of a Ya. Before that, we've got the end of the previous letter, so we will move the full thickness, which is 8mm, and this will be the start of the next letter, which is the Ya. So here I've got the Ya. The maximum height above this line would be 2.5 the thickness, and that would round to around 20mm, which is 2 centimeters. I'm using a calculator, by the way, to avoid any mishaps. So this is the maximum height of our Ya. I will immediately do the line all the way down to here. Now on top of a Ya, just like a Ba, we have a decoration which would be 1.5 to the left. Why is it 1.5? You need to understand these letters, not to memorize the dimensions. So here you've got the full thickness of the letter already existing right over here. Then you need a decoration to this letter, so you will have a 4mm, which is the half the thickness. That's why you would take 1.5 from the right edge. Don't memorize it, understand it. And the drop from the top would be 1t, the full thickness. So this will be down to here. Now, as we can see, this would be my decoration, and this would be the line where it drops. I'm connecting this point to this point for the decoration. Now, I've got my full thickness down here, and I know that I need to go back with a curve that is 0.5t. Then I would go down with a straight line all the way to here. This is the Ya done. I could immediately color it. Now, there is also a decoration that we talked about in the videos, which would be, instead of having it reaching to this point and continuing it, no, we could add a curve down here, and it will add a nice shape to it, but I'm not going to do that. you feel free to do it yourself if you want to. For that one, you would simply, you would color this part, and you would color this part. This will be erased, and you will drop all the way down to here, just like the wow. Go back to the video, and you will see it's not that hard. So go back and check it if you want to. Now we are going to add a ra, and for the ra, again, we're leaving full thickness from there to avoid any touching between the letters, because we want the text to be as clear as possible. This would be my line, the starting point of the ra. And the height of the ra would be 1.5t. So I'm going up for half thickness. It is shorter than the ya. Then from the half the thickness, I am taking another full thickness up to here. And now what will happen is that I'm going to transfer this point full T to the left, because the letter itself is sort of having a decoration. So that was lucky. This is exactly 8 millimeters. And I'm going to do the same thing I did up here, which is taking another half to the left of this point and connect those two together, which is this one to this one. Then coming back, and this way I've got the upper side of the letter Ra. Now the lower side of the letter Ra, just like the previous one, you would take, this is all going to be colored. From this point, you're going to take half a thickness, then another half a thickness, and drop them all the way down with dotted lines. So what will happen with you here is that we will keep going down with the Ra, and let's say from the midpoint you would start to curve, as you can see here. This curve would hit the first dot, the first dotted line, then go slightly up, and this dotted line would go down, hit with this line, then come back all the way up, and here it will be a tangent with the straight line that is coming from up here. So you go down with a straight line, and it's about your skill to make these two look naturally joining together. You can see you don't want to have a straight line then a sudden curve just like this one. No, you want this straight line to have the perfect transition to a circle just like this one. So make sure, keep an eye on the edge, on the lower edge of the Ra. And this is the end of the letter Ra. You would immediately color it to avoid any issues in the future. Now this would be the first draft of the word. You could change something about it. You could copy it to the actual paper that you are going to write the word on, if it was, for example, a black paper or something like that. So this would be just a first draft, because you've got the dimensions and some lines all the way around. Again, you continue with another ya, with the other ya, which is the same one as this one. You would take from here the full T, and you would start with your next ya, and this one would be exactly like the previous one, and you would go back, and here you will need 8T, and yeah, you would immediately do another ya letter, exactly the same one as the previous one. Or if you want to, you could add the decoration that we talked about down here, that you could find in the Ba lesson in the Kufi playlist. Now you've finished the ya. Again, you would take 1T to the left from this point, and this would be the end of your letter ya. Color it. And finally, you will have the ta marbuta. Now for the ta marbuta, the ta marbuta is a letter that is sort of goes with the line itself. So we are going to use the same shapes as we did for the waw here. This would be the start of the ta marbuta, as we said. And the height of the ta marbuta, I would say, is governed by the height of the jim. So you would take this all the way up to the jim, because the height of the ta marbuta, this side, is variable. You could do whatever you want to do with it to sort of let it blend into the shape or the word that you're writing. From this right line of the letter, we are going to take the full thickness, 8 millimeters and 8 millimeters, do a line all the way down. Now this line will have a decoration up here, which is similar to the previous ones. You have to drop the full thickness, T, and go out half the thickness up out here. So this decoration is similar to all the other decorations, nothing new here. What's new here is the shape itself. So you're going to take half the thickness to the left, half the thickness up above this line, and do the same opening as we did for the wall. Then you would take a full thickness for the line here and a full thickness from this dot to the left and connect these two together just like we did for the letter wow. Then you would end it down here. Then you would color the letter. So what you do is you basically do each letter by itself. Imagine that it's a whole new letter. And start coloring it immediately after you finish, because you don't want to miss or forget where were the lines. Sometimes when you finish the whole piece and you go back to color it, you start to think, oh, I've missed my part and I've colored this part instead of emptying it. So here you could add the dots for the circles, جويرية, another dots for the circle shapes. And for the ta marbuta here, you could have them on top of the ta, 2 dots, or on top of each other. It's up to you. I think I'm going to put them actually here to sort of close in the space between these two. Color them with the same pen or with a different color if you want. It would be lovely if you had some red or gold for the dots and the text in black. That would be amazing. So here we have Juwairiya. Now I did use the normal gene, basic letters basically, nothing complicated, but the complication about this script is not the letters themselves, is how to write it. So what you need to do, again, you write down the name you want to write or the text you want to write. Take shapes and dimensions on a different paper. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to have all the information on it. Then start with the main line, which would be the 0 or the ground level. Then add your upper reference lines. Now you could add all these reference lines for the wow, for the ya, for the decorations, but that would be too much. I would advise you just to add the maximum height and the full thickness, and if you want the maximum height for the ya, ba, ta, and nun. So you could use this to say that this height would be for ta, ba, ya, nun, tha. And yeah, I hope it's clear. I hope it's easy. It's not easy. It needs some. It's that easy that you can't do a lot of easy stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next ones. I'm not sure if I'm going to make any other Kufi videos, but to be fair, I've always wanted to make the Kufi for everyone out there practicing it. And yeah, this has been Ammar Al-Audi, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to end it with this picture so that you could take the dimensions, and have a lovely day, evening or night. Goodbye.